Hello everybody and welcome back to the Welsh Lady ASMR. I'm doing a soft spoken video today and there's an added quality to my voice today. I'm not sure if you will like it or not. I've got yet another cold and it is one of those annoying colds that sit on the back of your throat, and if I start whispering, inevitably it sets off a coughing fit, which is not ASMR at all. So I'm going to keep today's softly spoken. And before I get into today's video and what I'm going to be talking about, we all have a bit of a celebration. The Welsh Lady ASMR channel last week hit 1,000 subscribers. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you to everyone who has taken the time to click the little subscribe button. If you're watching and you haven't yet, please consider hitting it. It's a big achievement for me to hit 1,000. I've got to do a few more watch time hours. YouTube calculates that behind the scenes. Once I get up to 4,000 public watch hours, I'm not far away actually, it shouldn't take long. I'll be able to, monetize the channel, which will be a really lovely thing for me to do. It will mean adverts, and I know some of you are already getting adverts, but it will mean I will have more control over those adverts, so you won't be getting them in the middle of my videos, which I imagine if you're getting into relaxation is really annoying. So I will have the adverts at the start and at the end. I really appreciate if you sit through the adverts. I know some of them you can skip, but it does make a difference to me in terms of the monetization. So thank you if you sit through the adverts. So yeah, thank you for subscribing, for coming back to see the videos every time I put them out. I know there's a lot of you regulars, and it's lovely reading all your comments week after week. And hello to all of the new subscribers. Just as an introduction, on this channel it's mainly whispering or soft spoken chats, a lot of book videos. I love talking about books, particularly vintage ones, but generally books. And I do have a vintage book I'm going to talk about today, by the way. But I did also want to say that as a celebration for hitting the 1,000 subscribers, I am going to do a live. I haven't actually decided when. It's going to be very soon, in the next week. I will put a little community post or a short out just to announce it. I'm not expecting many of you to be there. It's very much a trial for me. I do lives over on TikTok and I enjoy those a lot. We've got quite a good regular people who come back and listen to me do my lives, and I'd like to do the same over here on YouTube. It's going to be very casual, very chilled. It's not going to be a big formal thing. A bit of chat, probably a bit of a story or a book, but all that is to come. So look out for the post of when I'm actually going to launch. And I suspect initially I will do one a week, see how it goes, how many of you are there. And yeah, I thought it would be nice to get to know some of you who watch the videos regularly, and hopefully you can throw questions at me, get some requests in of any of the books you want to hear about, or any other videos that you particularly are interested in. So I will look forward, I hope anyway, to seeing some of you on the upcoming live. But first of all, let's get into today's video. It's a bit of a husky, softly spoken one. I hope you can bear with me. And we're going to do one of my books. And it's one I've spoken about before, but I thought we'd look a little bit more in depth at this book today. Yes, it's another vintage cookbook. And I have mentioned this one before. It was my mother's book. It's a Collins cheerful cooking book called Budget Recipes by Carol Wright, and it was published in 1973. Now, I seem to remember my mother had a copy from the library. She obviously liked it so much she put an order in, I'm guessing at W.H. Smith's, and then she had her own copy. And I've talked about this book before. I love the old-fashioned pictures, the old-fashioned recipes. Look, bottle of Mateus Rosé. If ever there was a 70's drink, that would be it. And obviously designed for frugal living, and I guess that's having its moment again. And I thought I would read out some of the recipes that stand out to me. And also this book has got some notes written by probably my father, because I know my father enjoyed cooking on the odd occasion. And he always made a note in a book at the date when he'd made that recipe. And we've talked about the strange concoctions previously, but I'm going to read the introduction because I don't think I did that on the last video. So this introduction is written by Carol Wright, who is the author of the recipe book. This is what she's got to say. Mrs. Beeton was a cookery writer, now noted for the prodigality of her take a dozen eggs. In fact, she was a careful cook with a resolute eye on her budget. She said, "Frugality and economy are home virtues without which no household can prosper. We must always remember that it is a great merit in housekeeping to manage a little well. Managing a little well needs watchfulness in shopping, taking advantage of lower prices when seasonal gluts occur, and using cheaper foods to substitute or stretch more expensive items. Use of vegetables is healthy and can make meat go further. The cook on a budget should learn the use of herbs and spices, sauces and flavourings, so that her dishes are always exciting, if not costly. It's sense to build up a store cupboard of flavourings as you can afford them, and grow your own herbs even in a flower pot or a window box. Remember, it is ideas, not income, that create a good table. Since the need of the budget cook is mainly variations on basic foods to give versatility to meals, I have arranged the recipes under the basic food types so that the reader can select ideas from the foods she can afford. Budget cooking isn't managing on no money, it is shopping wisely and then being able to present foodstuffs in many different ways, avoiding too much stodge and repetition. Many of the recipes I have learned through a love of entertaining and not always being able to afford lavish, luxurious foods. I hope this book will help cooks invite as many friends as they wish to impressive meals without worrying about cutting back for the rest of the week. I guess that introduction really sets the scene for this book, and written in an age where it was okay to assume that the person cooking was a she. But I must admit, in my own house, I have, since I did my little juice fast, I have been trying to incorporate many more vegetables into my diet. So it's interesting to read her comments here on the health-giving properties of vegetables. And she's also mentioned growing herbs for flavouring, and that's something else that I've been doing. Growing microgreens on my windowsill. I've got some tomato plants, some lovely tomatoes on them, but they are green, not ripe yet. Herbs, I've had some success with rosemary, chives, and obviously mint, because mint's very easy to grow. Less success with dill. I grew these from seeds. The dill did really well initially and has just died back. So yeah, not quite sure what went wrong. But again, interesting to read in this book about growing herbs for flavour. So there's interesting sections here on how much to buy, and I love the illustrations. To me, those are so nostalgic. They are very much a 70's, the little caricatures of meat and vegetables, and even the font. So I've only turned a few pages, and this one is in my dad's writing. He's labelled it. He did this recipe on the 26th of February 1989. Now I know my dad had retired by then and my mother was still working, so I know my dad would stay home and enjoy making a lovely hot meal for my mother to come home to. And yes, this is one of the meals he cooked. It was a beef and apple stew. It does sound lovely. And you know, back 1973, the supermarkets weren't as big as they are now. We didn't really have a supermarket. I think I've mentioned this before. We used a local grocer's shop and a very small co-op in the village to get all of our shopping, apart from the butchers. There was a butcher's there. And you didn't get exotic ingredients. So I'm going to read out the list of ingredients so that you can get an idea of, the sort of the standard ingredients. So it was 1 ounce, because again, here in the UK we are metric now, but I grew up using ounces and pounds for measuring when I was baking. So this recipe is imperial. So you need 1 ounce of flour, 1 teaspoon of dry mustard seasoning. The dry mustard, I remember, is Coleman's mustard in a little yellow tin. Well, it wasn't a tin. I seem to remember it in a cardboard packet. I know nowadays you get it in a little tin with a little lid on the top, on a little hinge. But I seem to remember it being a cardboard box. Half a teaspoon of mixed herbs, so we're not going crazy there with the amount of herbs. 1.5 pounds of chuck steak cut into cubes. And again, I know my mother would go to the butcher's for meat. Nowadays, I guess most people go to the supermarket and buy meat ready prepared. Back to the recipe. 1 ounce of fat. Guessing lard. I think my mother would always, if roasting a joint, would preserve the fat or the lard off the meat in a jug, or in an old mug actually, in the fridge. And every time a roast was cooked, she would pour more of the fat into the same mug. So I don't think that mug ever emptied. It was just continually topped up, and that's what we would have used for fat in a recipe, as this one calls for. 1 onion sliced, 2 carrots diced, 1 tablespoon of malt vinegar, 1 garlic clove. I'm pretty sure, I mean, maybe in 1989 we had garlic, but back in the 70s, I never remember garlic in the fridge. So that was probably omitted from the recipe. 1 pint of beef stock and 1 cooking apple chopped. Yeah, so there are no comments here on how the dish turned out, but across the page I can see another recipe that's really standing out to me, and it's not labelled. My mother didn't tend to label a recipe as my dad did, but I know, and again I've mentioned this before, in the 70s we certainly didn't go out for dinners very often at all. We didn't eat out, but we did for the odd special occasion like birthdays, Christmas. My mother would cook meals in the house, and I'm pretty sure that's why she ordered this book. And I definitely remember she cooked this meal, and it's called Salisbury Steaks. And the ingredients are a pound of minced beef. We seem to have a lot of meals with minced beef, and I guess it just is so versatile even now, isn't it? You can do so many things with minced beef. And the minced beef my mother used to buy would be from the butcher's, and he would weigh it out, and it would be in paper, like a fish and chip wrapper, big square of paper, and then a larger piece of paper, and it was all wrapped up. So yeah, meat would sit in your fridge wrapped up in paper rather than all this plastic stuff. It did go in a plastic bag to carry from the shop. Anyway, 1 pound of minced beef, 8 ounces of sausage meat, 4 ounces of boiled long grain rice, that's your raw weight, salt and pepper, 1 egg well beaten, 1.5 pints of water, and a packet of onion soup mix, and 1 ounce of flour. That was a good cheat, using packet soup mix to give flavouring. And it looks as though you combined the beef, sausage meat, rice, seasoning and egg, and then formed it into steak. So they were like burgers, I suppose, only there was rice in them. And then to make a sauce, you would heat up the water, add the soup mix, and mix flour to thicken it. And then when the steaks were done, you poured it over the steaks, looking at this. Pour gravy over the steaks and bake for another 20 minutes. I seem to remember it was quite tasty. Now, when during school holidays, I did used to enjoy baking cakes mainly, but I did love to make a corned beef pie, and there is a recipe for corned beef pie in here as well, using a quantity of short crust pastry, and it's got here a little note, see basic recipes, page 100. 2 cans of corned beef, 6 ounces of onion diced, a tablespoon of oil, salt, pepper, Tabasco sauce, pretty sure we didn't have that, 1 egg, 4 ounces of carrots and peas. Who remembers having loads of turkey left at Christmas? There's several recipes here using turkey. One of them is Hungarian spiced turkey. We have turkey tetrazzini, which has got a little illustration I'll show you in a second. And then turkey fried rice. Now that sounds pretty exotic for the 70s. I like a turkey fried rice now. But let's have a little look at the turkey tetrazzini. It's got a little illustration. Looks a bit like a carbonara, look. Turkey with pasta and mushrooms and a little carafe of wine. And the ingredients for turkey tetrazzini are 8 ounces of spaghetti, a celery stick, a small onion chopped, a can of mushrooms thinly sliced. Why would they put a can of mushrooms? Interesting. 3 ounces of butter, 1 can of cream of chicken soup, half a pint of milk, 2 ounces of sharp cheddar cheese grated, 3 tablespoons of sherry, optional. I guess in that photograph it must have been sherry. Salt and pepper, 8 ounces of turkey cooked and diced, and grated Parmesan cheese. I think with those ingredients that would make a really, really tasty dish with leftover turkey or chicken. I just think I wouldn't use tinned mushrooms nowadays. And I know mushrooms were available in the 70s. Now this is an interesting one. Look at that. What do you think this one is? It's actually a spaghetti supper dish. And you'll never believe it. Spaghetti supper dish. Ingredients: 2 ounces of fresh breadcrumbs, 2 eggs, a pound of pork sausages or sausage meat, 1 medium onion, 1 garlic clove, salt and pepper, 1 can of spaghetti with tomato and cheese sauce, and 3 ounces of cheese grated. I don't think my mother ever made that, but I imagine that would be quite interesting. Just flicking through another page of illustrations, and I love the little fondue set. How many of you for wedding gifts had a fondue set? My mother certainly did. I think I can't remember them ever using it as a fondue set. I think most of the components broke, but the red glass dish had little white sort of 70s illustration or 60s. And that was kept as a salad bowl for many years. And yeah, as I said, I know I've talked about this book before because I do love it, and it just brings back so many feelings of nostalgia for me. And I hope you enjoyed this week's video. As I said, please do look out for the live. I will be doing it in the next 7 days, and I think it will save as a video if you don't happen to make it for the live. You can watch it on a sort of a catch-up basis. But anyway, thank you so much, guys, and yeah, big congratulations. Let's get the channel growing even more, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.